I knew very early on in my life what I didn't want to do before I knew what I wanted to do. Science was not something where my interests or my goals aligned. I think when I was in 8th standard that one day I'll be a CA. Never once also seen a past paper.
Wow.
Even in CA.
Typically ये बात होती है कि अगर स्कूल में तुम अच्छी मार्क्स ला रहे हो, टॉप कर रहे हो, you want to taste failure, become a CA.
It all boils down to the 3 golden principles.
So rank holders across all 3 levels, you qualified as a CA. What next? What happened after that?
So after that then, I did want some form of an international exposure as well. And the organization that I was working at also had some clients that had, audit requirements under different gaps as well at that time. So that is why I thought about CPA. It was a course that has synergies even now with chartered accountancy here, and the good part is that we can study for it here and just go there for exams. So I mean, for me it was not feasible to go for a longer time to pursue either an MBA or any other longer duration course, but I thought that CPA is something that then aligns with a mid ground, where I can study from here and go there just for the examination, but at the same time try and get an experience of how things can also be. And I think my movement from EY to the other firm was also to understand how things can also be. And that's why I did CPA, to understand how things can also be. But I did not have any, thought process of moving there or again moving to a Big Four or anything of that sort. In that time, what actually happened was that I got an opportunity to implement what I had learned in EY in this firm. And that's when I stumbled upon this concept of intrapreneurship, which is, running a new segment or doing something new in your organization.
Okay, so, interesting. Tell us a little more about this.
Sure. So as I told you, EY is extremely structured. It has very good, robust processes in place. It has updates on every new guidelines that comes about. And I thought that was one of the most invaluable things I learned from my EY experience. When I moved here, that was completely lacking because the setup and setting and operations were very different. So I thought this gave me a good opportunity to understand how I can learn from my EY experience and implement structure and processes here. And I also had the support of the organization that I was working for that encouraged me to do that. So once I started understanding how this new organization works, I started looking at how certain concepts and processes from EY can be applied here. So then I started moving towards a role. Of course, I would execute what was given to me, but a lot of my role also involved bringing structure.
Innovation and ideation.
Bring on board. And rethinking audit processes, rethinking, doing analytical research and an analytical audit, rather than just doing, moving out from clerical audits.
Yeah, the number check, the checklist, the reverse checklist that we normally do. And of course, I know at EY also had this knowledge and solutions team that you're referring to, where there were regular updates coming out from a centralized team who will research extensively and give you answers before the world gives you. I think those are some very good points that come from a Big Four organized sector, those kind of culture and knowledge transfer that happens out there. During your stint at EY or during your professional life when you're working, have you had some bad managers?
I think nobody is perfect, but yes, I've had experience of unpleasant situations. I wouldn't say unpleasant or bad managers, but unpleasant or bad situations. Sometimes circumstances drive action. So I wouldn't say that any manager that I've had was bad in any way, but of course there have been situations that were difficult, that were hard, that were unpleasant, but I think that's where we learn the most also. So yes, I have had unpleasant situations.
So I mean, around 10 years back when you qualified as I think only 15-20% of the CAs were females.
Correct.
And I'm sure the people studying CA also was less. Today it touched 30% plus. Do you think as a woman, in a bigger organization, you've had challenges to prove your point or make your presence felt?
In fact, I felt that far more in entrepreneurship than I did as a chartered accountant. But for me, I try to ensure that gender doesn't come into the picture at all. I mean, if I'm a chartered accountant, I'm a chartered accountant. I'm not a female or a male chartered accountant.
Correct. Absolutely.
If I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. There's no gender to chartered accountancy or to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
So if I am not heard, I know that I will still say what I want to say where it matters. Then it's on the other person who has the decision making authority. But I know that I will not give up without a fight, or I will not give up without saying what I want to say. I mean, if I have an opinion on something and it is something that matters and it is something that is important, I will say it. I mean, so for me, the thing is that sometimes we build more walls in our heads rather than focusing on how we can break those walls. So I've always tried.
That's a very good point for a lot of women, especially, that sometimes it's a mental block also, because log bolte hai. Like even for CA, a lot of people say कि tough course है, तुमसे नहीं हो पाएगा.
Correct.
And that's pushing you to believe in that direction.
Correct.
And that's what happens over here as well. But have you had an incident or episode where someone said that यार she's a woman, उससे नहीं हो पाएगा, या वो weekend पे काम नहीं कर पाएगी, और late night काम नहीं कर पाएगी, ये project उसको नहीं देते? Have you lost out on any projects or assignments because of a perception of someone else that you'll not be able to handle it?
So when I was auditing a company that was into infrastructure, and that was into civil infrastructure, and at that time, sometimes to make a woman go at a toll booth to check certain financial measures there was considered should be or should be not. But all it took was that one opportunity, and then it's on you on how you conduct yourself and how you prove yourself, of course at the cost of never compromising on safety. But I still remember that on one of the March endings, a female colleague of mine, my senior, and that was the faith towards women in my team, at least in a good way, where a female colleague of mine, my senior, and I were sent to take audit, to do an inventory check at a construction site.
Okay.
Now 2 women were sent in a place where it is 20 feet dug underground with, of course, there are only male workers there, and there are, temporary sort of huts that are built, and we are climbing onto cement bags to count the number of bags and tally it with the inventory sheet, things like that. So I've also had experiences like that where they did not discriminate based on gender. It's just that they sent 2 people instead of 1. Otherwise, it would be 1 male counterpart. So I think there is a midway to be explored, yes, between the team and me. But I have not had any incident where I felt, or maybe I did not let my mind only feel that they're treating me, with a bias.
True.
And whenever I felt that I was not given that opportunity, I asked. Then if I get it, I get it. If I don't get it, I don't get it. But it should not stop me from asking.
True. So I think that's the message probably you want to give to all women pursuing CA or qualifying, that don't limit yourself by your own thought process.
Correct.
एक बार पूछ के तो देखो.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no.
And I feel this is the best time in India to be a woman CA or a woman entrepreneur. There are so many initiatives towards women. You have to take the first step. There's a road that lies ahead for you to support you.
Any one thing that you want to talk about which people can benefit from?
Oh yeah, so many. So I myself have been part of certain programs that are by the government or that are by certain private organizations also. So one of the programs like that is by Niti Aayog and Department of Science and Technology. Okay. The foundation is called We Foundation, which is Women Entrepreneurship and Empowerment Foundation, where they actually teach you the course of entrepreneurship that is done in Harvard in India for free.
Okay.
So these are the benefits that you have, and at the end you get an opportunity to pitch to a group, and the government gives grants, and these are only grants for women-based organizations and women-led initiatives.
Interesting.
So it is about taking that extra effort to find that path for you.
So chartered accountancy, Big 4, a lot of industry experience, moving to startup entrepreneurship. Now CAs are not very famously known for starting something on their own. They are more in the finance and the back end, not being a phase of organization. How did that journey happen for you?
If you see business, it's ultimately about growth.
Correct.
It's about money, it's about laws, it's about costing, it's about financial management.
Yeah.
All of this is nothing but what the chartered accountancy course is.
True.
I mean, today we are in a world of a tech revolution. That's why people think that only those from a technology background can be founders. But then what about business? I may build a great product, but if I don't know how to monetize it, we know what is happening in the world for those businesses who haven't learned monetization.
Correct.
And that monetization, money management, finance management, and understanding business is what chartered accountancy actually trains a student for. And whether it's audit, whether it's exposure to industry, whether it's any other fields, all you do is learn about business. If you don't learn about the business and about the functioning and money movement in a business, how will you ever audit it? I had audit experience.
Correct.
So I know that understanding the business is something that I had to learn early on for me to be able to perform the audit function.
True.
And that's why I feel that in fact who better than a chartered accountant to start a business, to start sustainable long-term businesses. Today also, if you see some of the largest business conglomerates, most of the heads are actually chartered accountants.
Yes.
Whether it's the Tata group, whether it's you name some of the biggest groups in India. It is actually chartered accountants who are forging that way forward. And that doesn't mean that your learning stops at chartered accountancy. Of course, you learn through the journey. You learn about technology, just like how somebody with a tech background starts learning about numbers.
Finance and numbers. Correct.
So why not a chartered accountant to start a business? And I definitely feel that when you understand movement of money and growth of a business, you can make products work for you.
So was it a conscious thought not to do the conventional tax audit practice, or did you after a time got irritated with that? Ki wo nahi karna hai kuch, and that's how the thought of seed of starting this game?
Sure. So I did not plan on entrepreneurship when I planned a career.
Okay.
I mean, when I was in 8th, I thought chartered accountancy karna hai, uske baad kya karna nahi socha. And chartered accountancy to kar liya. Then now what to do? Now I'm still working in that firm, and along with finance, another field is law. And few people who I also knew were doing law, and I was like, okay, theek hai, fir law bhi kar hi lete. I was anyway, 1 year of articleship was still left because I did a BCom.
Okay.
So 1 year of articleship was left, 1 year for my final CA was left. And with where I was working, I was anyway every 6 months taking about 2 weeks off for exams. So I thought I'm in that pattern, so why not pursue law? So that's how law happened for me. So while I was doing that and while I was working in this CA firm, so I told you it was mainly in the luxury goods, diamond and jewelry industry. And that is a industry that is more family run, where most of the units are family run. One thing that kept, coming up again and again is how disputes were handled and how litigation works in India. Not only tax litigation, any form of litigation, how it works in India. I mean, we've all heard that, courtrooms mean tariq pe tariq. Reality is actually worse.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. If you just see some statistics by the government, you will be shocked as to if you were to go to court today in 2024, if you are lucky, you may get a resolution in probably 2036 or 2037. If you are lucky, you may.
That's 12 to 14 years.
Correct.
On the lower side.
Correct. And if you are lucky.
Yeah.
So over time, I quickly realized that a lot of these businesses where I was performing the audit function had so many mismanaged disputes that ultimately some of the businesses that we saw on the top when I started working in this firm were actually then looking at completely downsizing because of mismanaged disputes that trickled into businesses and families. And I did not plan on entrepreneurship. It happened because of the experiences I had with time. Now, what happened when I was still, in this firm where I was working, there was an incident. So it was one of my co-founders. So I started with 2 more people. We are 3 co-founders. So it was one of my co-founders' father's business dispute that was going on in courts for about 27-28 years at that time. Okay. And the matter reached the Supreme Court. So my co-founder was, that time, of course, we had not started anything, but we've been friends. So he said, why don't you come along? So we, thought that maybe a Supreme Court experience is something that would help. True. So we go to the court. I mean, the matter predates our birth. We're sitting there, 28-29 years have passed. The judge in open court in the Supreme Court tells my friend that, see, your father started this litigation. Why don't you settle it? Accept what he's offering. Otherwise, your child will have to conclude it. Now, this is a statement that is coming from a judge in the Supreme Court. What are you really going to expect?
Yeah, true.
And that's when I think, that proverbial light bulb, so to say, went off. And that's, I think, on that Supreme Court bench is when we realized that we have to work towards
that was the Eureka moment.
Exactly, towards looking for a solution so that nobody else has to experience this.
And that's how Resolve 360 came into existence.
Yes, that's how then we started delving more into the idea of how disputes can be resolved outside of court, and court can become the last resort. Because it's not just...
Technically, justice should be from the courts, but since they are not able to give you justice on time, and justice delayed is justice denied, you took an opportunity to build something around that.
Sure, that is a way of saying yes, but it's also the responsibility of disputing parties to ensure resolutions happen before the court. Today, India is the world's most litigious country. For everything, everybody says, I'll see you in court. It's the world's most litigious country.
Is it? I thought it was US.
No,
was
it is.
The fake,
in fact, in US, over 96 or 97% of cases are settled pre-trial. They don't even go to court.
Oh,
they say, I'll sue you, but it's a settlement.
Oh,
it's a mediation that happens.
That happens out there.
Now in India, the concept, we've heard of terms like arbitrations and mediations, but where does one go when they want to do an arbitration or a mediation?
Got it.
There are some institutions that exist, but those are for very high value disputes. And they are mainly for either international disputes or disputes that run into crores. But let's say it's a small business and the dispute is of 5 lakhs. What do? Do you wait for 12 or 14 years, or you go to an institution that will charge you a few lakhs just in fees? What do you do? So to solve for these kind of disputes, we started Resolve 360, which is an online dispute resolution platform, because we knew we wanted to solve this at scale. Today, on an average, 40,000 cases are filed per day in Indian courts. And for every case that is filed, almost 7 go unfiled. Because either, they don't find lawyers, or it's too expensive, or it's not worth pursuing, or some other reason. And that is what we are sitting on. And the backlog is not only because the courts are not able to deliver, it's also because as litigants or as disputing parties, we are running to courts for the smallest to the biggest of things, and then we expect that why are we getting delayed justice? So that responsibility lies between all the stakeholders. And there has to be a middle layer that can actually help certain types of disputes be resolved completely out of court, and filter out those, such as those probably that are with respect to national security, or those disputes with respect to jurisprudence, or new kinds of laws that need to come into the picture. Those can go to court. And many civil clean disputes can actually be resolved outside of court with efficiency. Today, all aspects of our lives are digitized.
Absolutely.
Fintech, health tech, reg tech, take whichever sector, then why not legal tech and dispute resolution?
That's interesting in terms of, how we are able to solve matters which normally go on for years with no resolution.
Yeah.
So, quick minute to explain in terms of, how do you go about helping two despairing parties?
Sure. So now let's say, you have your own business, and let's say you need to recover 5 lakhs, the same example, from another business.
Correct.
In that case, what happens? You will probably reach out to the other party. You will try your best to, talk to them and figure that out. Or say you involve a middle person who knows you and them and try that. If that also fails, then what? Then directly comes the step of litigation. But what if there was a middle step where you approach an independent institution, which is what Resolve 360 is. Of course, it is done in a digital fashion, where you say that, look, these are the invoices, this is what has happened, and this is what is due to me. And then we as an independent institution reach out to the other party, explain what is happening in the dispute, simplify it, make it accessible for the other party also to say their side of the story. We ourselves don't do any kind of, adjudication of disputes. Okay. We have a panel of arbitrators and mediators.
Interesting.
So they get assigned to these disputes based on certain criteria like specialization, area of expertise, things like that. And after that, the entire resolution can happen via a platform. So how Amazon connects buyers, sellers and logistics partners, we are a platform like that. And we want to make it easy for every stakeholder to actually find resolution within a few days or a few weeks, and at an equal footing.
Fair enough. So what's been the success ratio so far? How many customers or clients have been delivered, and how many of them have resolved already?
Sure. So when we started, for many years we were still trying to figure out where we are headed. I still remember, after COVID in September of 2020. Before that, in fact, when we would talk about ODR even to the legal community, everyone would just laugh us off, because the terminology ODR, which is online dispute resolution, was itself unheard of even in the legal community, forget external stakeholders. But then COVID opened a few doors, where technology became mandatory in every aspect.
Yeah. I think COVID has been the best CTO India has ever received.
That's a great way of putting it, but yes, and we capitalized on that movement, and so far now we've done.
Don't expect that overnight you will become successful in what you're doing.
Look at now how actually LLMs or certain aspects of artificial intelligence can help chartered accountants. or ChatGPT for financial knowledge. That's a policy we don't pay for awards at all. I would choose entrepreneurship to resolve more disputes, and the headline of tomorrow to not read that there are so many fraud cases pending and that India is actually now one of the most efficient countries in dispute resolution.